You know how it is? You're scrolling late at night and you find a supposedly true scary story that gets under your skin and just stays there for days. But what's the secret sauce? What's the hidden formula that makes these stories so incredibly spooky? Well, today, we're putting them on the operating table. We're gonna deconstruct the anatomy of modern fear. It always starts with that feeling, doesn't it? It's not a jump scare. No. The best stories, they begin with this slow, creeping sense of unease, a quiet dread, that feeling deep in your gut that something is just not right. And that feeling is universal. That's the hook. And then, bam, the story drops you right into the narrator's world with something just like this. It's so immediate, so personal. It takes something totally familiar, something safe, the sound of your sister's voice, and twists it into a terrifying question. Because if your sister's in her room, who is really downstairs? So let's get into it. What are the ingredients in this recipe for terror? We're going to break down the formula, because trust me, it's not just about ghosts and monsters. It's a very clever mix of psychological triggers that prey on our most basic, fundamental fears. First up, and this one is huge, the corruption of the safe space. The real power of these stories comes from where they happen. They're not set in some spooky, faraway castle. Nope, they happen in the places we're supposed to feel the most secure. And this is the core of the whole trick. The story takes our expectation of safety and just completely violates it. Your family home, your sanctuary, becomes a crime scene. A public bus stop, a place you wait every day, becomes a hunting ground. A friend's house, a place for fun, turns into a trap. Every single one of these stories takes a promise of security and just shatters it to pieces. And right here, this is exactly how that shattering happens. It's not some supernatural demon breaking down the walls. It's a simple, painfully human error. Forgetting to lock the door. That one tiny, relatable mistake, that's the crack that lets all the horror flood in. It makes the threat feel terrifyingly, horribly plausible. Okay, so let's move on to our next ingredient. The safe space is compromised. Now we meet the threat. But here's the key. We almost never, ever get a good look at it. This brings us to a classic archetype, the shadow figure. Now, this isn't one specific monster. It's more like a template. It's a threat whose biggest weapon is being a total mystery. Its power comes directly from what we don't know. Our own brains are forced to fill in the blanks, and our imagination is always going to be scarier than anything they can show us. And once you know what to look for, you see this figure everywhere in these stories. The man at the bus stop with his face covered. The laughing man on the deck, just a shape in the night. The woman hiding under the bed for who knows how long. And, of course, that absolutely chilling silhouette standing at the end of Scott's hallway. They are all just faces of the unknown. I mean, this line from Jeremy's story just says it all, right? It wasn't some gruesome monster he saw, it was just an outline. But that lack of detail, that's what makes it so unbelievably terrifying. What kind of person just stands in the dark, watching you? All right, so we've got a compromised safe space and a mysterious threat. The third, and maybe the most important element, is the battle that happens right inside the narrator's own mind. This is where the real suspense gets cranked up to 11. Come on, think about it. You've done this. We all have. That weird noise you hear late at night. That person on the street who just gives you a bad vibe. What's your first instinct? It's to find a logical reason, right? To tell yourself, don't be silly, you're just overreacting. These stories plug directly into that conflict. You can actually map it out like this. First, the narrator notices something's off. A guy sits way too close at an empty bus stop. Second, they try to rationalize their fear. Oh, maybe he just thinks I'm sick or something. But then, step 3, the threat escalates. He puts his arm around her. And finally, in a moment of pure terror, their gut instinct is proven right. And all the while, we, the audience, are sitting here screaming, "Get up, run!" This quote from that bus stop story just captures that internal war perfectly. You can feel the tension. It's her primal instinct screaming, "Danger," versus the pressure from society to not make a scene, to be polite, to stay calm, even when you're facing something that is not logical at all. So, when you put all these pieces together, the broken safe space, the shadow in the dark, the battle in your own head, you start to realize something pretty profound. The real climax of these stories, it's not when the monster finally attacks, it's the psychological breaking point. It's that one specific moment when trying to rationalize things away just doesn't work anymore. This is that moment, right here, when Jeremy tells his friend there's an intruder, and his friend just shrugs. In that instant, all the excuses, all the attempts to pretend things are normal, they just evaporate. All that's left is that raw animal instinct to escape. Now. In that single instant, the narrator stops being a normal person living a normal life. They've just unwillingly become the main character in a horror story. And that, right there, is the ultimate fear. The complete and total loss of control. The realization that the normal rules of your life are gone, and you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen next. So, if these stories are so perfectly engineered to tap into our deepest fears, it begs the question, why on earth do we love them so much? What's the appeal of putting ourselves through this, even if it's from the safety of our phone screen? Well, it turns out these stories actually serve a really important purpose. They're like a simulation, a flight simulator for our brains, letting us practice for dangerous situations from a place where we're totally safe. They also validate our anxieties. They whisper, see, that little fear you have, it's not so crazy after all. They're basically modern-day cautionary tales, reminding us to, lock the door. But maybe the biggest lesson is the one we just talked about. They are a powerful gut punch reminder to always, always trust your instincts. And so often, they leave us hanging with a final haunting question. This quote is absolutely chilling because the most terrifying part is left unanswered. Did he get away because of sheer luck, or did the intruder let him? We'll never know. And that uncertainty is what makes the story stick with you forever. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As we scroll through these stories, it's worth asking ourselves, where is that line? When does a story that's just supposed to give us a thrill become something more? A reflection of a real-world danger, a warning that maybe, just maybe, we should all be taking a little more seriously?